one of the top questions we see from customers, and here's one on email. A younger investor, I'm 27 years old, I'm new to investing, I am saving in my company's 401k plan, I've got a small emergency fund. Is this a good time to dive into the stock market? And if so, what should I do?
To be 27 and have some money to invest in the market. If you're 27, this is a great time to become a long-term investor. That you've got enough decades ahead of you so that you don't need to worry about missing a bottom or a top. You're going to be able to ride out these things, be a little agile, be informed, but still you can take advantage of time. Time works to your benefit.
Chances are this individual's got 40 years, a 40-year time horizon before they'll even think about retiring.
Yeah, and remember that stuff they told you in grade school about the compounding of money in the bank? Well, it works in the stock market too. What you're doing is buying a company that makes earnings, they're reinvesting in it, in that business, that's compounding of the money they're making, and that's what you want to do over the long term. The things that you want to make sure you do at the same time as you're being a long-term investor, you want to make sure you diversify a portfolio. You're not betting on one horse. You try to own a group of stocks so that if this one's wrong, this one's right. Evens out your risk.
A lot of new investors actually, that's one of the questions we also get is, I don't know what to buy, and they want to buy just one stock. And I try to remind our customers that one of the most important rules in investing is diversification, to avoid large losses that wipe out your portfolio.
And diversification has gotten to be a whole lot easier as well as harder, depending on how you think of it. It used to be when people would say diversify, that suggest, well, buy an index fund, buy an S&P index fund, you get the US market. Now, basically, that's only part of the world that's important, so you can't just do a US index anymore. But now that we have ETFs and lots of other indexes, it's really easy to build a portfolio exposed to all the world that you want to own a piece of, exposed to the different industries. You know, one of my favorite ETFs is called MOO. That's its symbol, and it's an agricultural index. You know, you can buy potash and Monsanto and Deere with just one ETF, and if you like the way that trend is going, that's a good way to diversify rather than having to pick and go, oh my goodness, do I buy this agricultural stock? What do I know about fertilizer after all? If you're like me, probably
and there's
nothing.
So many great online tools now. At ShareBuilder, we have a research center which has the full list of ETFs, and you can get a full description of what they own and the stocks in that index. So you can get a particular financial services, agricultural, oil companies, whatever the index is.
Yeah, and you can really dig into the companies now. I mean, one of the advantages of being a long-term investor is that you've got lots of time. You can research the company, you can buy a little. One of the things I like to do personally is if I find a stock that I'm interested in, I'll buy a small position. It focuses your attention incredibly to actually know you're an owner of a piece of a company, and suddenly you start following the company with a lot more interest, a lot more intensity, you learn a lot more, and then at some point down the road you say, oh, I really like what I've learned, I'll add more to this. Or you say, oh, now that I know them, I really don't want to own them, so you sell, but you haven't wasted very much in terms of money getting to know a company that you might want to marry for the long term.
Yeah, unlike then when you buy a shirt or a tie from a company and you wear it, you actually pay them. When the company, you buy a part of a company, they hopefully pay you in either dividends or growth of those shares.
Yeah, I mean, and that's certainly one thing to keep in mind. At a time like this, when the market is really uncertain, maybe one of the things you want to do when you diversify is that you want to think about looking for some stocks with some dividends so you get paid while you wait. There's nothing like opening up your statement every month and seeing that you've actually gotten some money in dividends and added to your balance. One of the things that is really interesting, if you look at what, how long it took people to make money after the crash in the Great Depression, if you just look at stock prices, it took until like 1956 to get even.
Right.
If you look at dividends and include it, by the 40s, you were doing really well. You were on the positive side. It makes a tremendous difference to have some dividends in your portfolio.